Air Canada flights are grounded this morning as 10,000 flight attendants remain on strike. They began picketing on Saturday morning and defied government orders to return to work yesterday afternoon. For more on this, I want to bring in CBS News correspondent Tom Hanson, who joins us from New York's LaGuardia Airport. All right, Tom, so break it down. Where do negotiations stand, and what are the workers demanding?
Yeah, well, first I'll start with the impacts of this ongoing strike. It is not a good day if you are flying Air Canada today. Just a quick rundown of the numbers. Air Canada, 71% of those flights have been canceled so far today. And then if you consider the budget airline and subsidiary of Air Canada, which is called Air Canada Rouge, that number jumps up to 89%. Now, we know that we are pretty much in a standstill where both parties are waiting for the other side to come to the table here, and it's pretty much turned into a staring contest. There's a looming deadline that Air Canada has set for this afternoon, 4 p.m., where they want to be fully up and running. But there's also a development I want to bring to you guys right now that we've been following. The Canada Industrial Relations Board, which oversees all of these various unions, has declared the flight attendant strike at Air Canada unlawful and orders union leaders to direct flight attendants back to work. So I should clarify what I mean when I say the board. They are the government entity that works with unions in order to make these operations happen. They are calling that unlawful. And, you know, this is clearly having an impact on Air Canada. They also came out today saying that they are not going to release their third quarter earnings, which is obviously reading in between the lines because they are concerned about the staggering number of planes that have not taken off and the financial toll of this strike on the industry as a whole. Air Canada is one of two main airlines in the country of Canada. Consider it sort of like an American or a Delta or a United Airlines, but for Canada. 700 flights a day going in and out of those Air Canada operations. That's basically, when you look at the cancellations, 500 flights that are not taking off. Meanwhile, this all hinges on the union calling for an increase in wages, something that Air Canada says they have come to the table to boost wages by 38% over the span of 4 years for flight attendants. Air Canada says that that would make those flight attendants some of the most highly compensated flight attendants in the entire country. But the union says that is not enough. Here's a little bit more of what they had to say on that matter.
We're not willing to accept binding arbitration at this stage. We're here to negotiate a collective agreement, something that we can now see was put on hold by Air Canada, awaiting this decision. We're just not going to accept it at this time. It's not the right move. They brought a counter offer to wages that was still well below par. They didn't address unpaid work or anything else. So they haven't come to the table because this was the plan all along, and we're not willing to accept that.
And so one of the things that I want to really zero in on when it comes to the wages is how these flight attendants are paid. This dispute really hinges on that factor where currently, flight attendants are only paid when the plane is in motion. That means when the door closes, the plane taxis to the runway and takes off. That's when the clock starts. Then when the plane lands, the door opens, they let the passengers off. That's when the clock ends. Now, this union says that they should be paid beyond that window of time when, for example, flight attendants are transiting from one airline or one aircraft to the next aircraft. That should still be considered work. They should be paid for that. As looking ahead for this 4 p.m. deadline today, Vlad, it is really just up in the air. As you mentioned, heading into this, there was a deadline yesterday. That did not come to fruition. So we're just going to be watching very closely that 4 p.m. deadline today to see if these planes get back up and running. Vlad.
All right, Tom Hanson for us. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it.